Okay, and Good Morning Kenya gets to continue. And today being a Tuesday, you already know that we talk matters health. And this morning, I am joined in studio by Dr. Geoffrey Ngewa, who is a clinician and pharmacist, and he's here to talk to us about antimicrobial resistance. What is this? What is this? What is antimicrobial resistance? We'll be finding out everything surrounding that. We get to understand the definition of it, how it comes about, and how we can get to manage that. So let's get into it. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's good to have you, Ndegwa. Thank you for having me, Ndegwa and Ngewa, on the table.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Now let's get straight into it. Antimicrobial resistance. It sounds like a really, really big term. I'm sure it's not a term that many people can or understand, right? So let's get to the definition of it first of all. What exactly are we talking about when we talk about this?
I'll decipher, I'll break it down for our viewers.
Please.
So antimicrobial, I will break it. There is anti, then microbial. So that means these are agents that deal with microbes. So to start to understand, microbes are viruses, bacteria, fungal, and other parasites. So when we talk about antimicrobial, it means the agents that come to counter the action of the microbes or pathogens. And then antimicrobials, now resistance. That means that these pathogens have positioned themselves at a point where they cannot respond to the action of the agents or the medicines. So the antimicrobials are medicines, the medications. And then now the resistance against the medication. That's essentially what we are talking about.
Okay, so antimicrobial are medication for treating some of these infections, the bacteria, the fungi, the viruses, and all of that. So case in point, or the simplest one that I feel many Kenyans would relate with are antibiotics.
Exactly.
So antibiotics and antimicrobials.
That is right. So antibiotics, so you would say against bacteria you'll have antibiotics. Against viruses you'll have antivirals. We'll have antifungals and anti-parasites as well. So essentially all those are antimicrobes. And now talking about, because I caught your question, how they occur. You know, okay, how, in what scenario do we have antimicrobial resistance? So you realize that when the medications are administered, they have a structure. Those who have designed in drug design, when I was doing those things in the labs in India, in my master's in pharmacology, you realize we are having targets. So those targets of where the molecules are aiming at are the active sites or the specific sites on the microbial organisms. So when we have resistance, it means that that target has gone null. Maybe it's not being, is no longer responding. So we have what we call the structure-activity relationship. We also have mode of action, the mechanism of action. So depending on which mechanism of action that drug is supposed to act on this microbe, then we will have that microbial resistance, which we are going to see how it will come.
All right. Why is it a problem?
Yeah, it's a big problem because that means the pathogens are here to stay. And that when the pathogens are there to stay, that means the disease is either prolonged. This person, when they don't get healed, then they will die. So it becomes a big issue that we must counter. So we need to make sure that we minimize, we abate antimicrobial resistance.
Okay. And how does it happen exactly? You know, how does one get to a point where now the antibiotics or antifungals or this medication that you may need to take are not working for you anymore? How do we get to that point where now it's resistant?
Now, when it comes to resistance, the first trait, the most common cause is overusing. You may overuse a drug. Okay, we have two different. We have the natural sources, and then we have the human sources.
Yeah.
So the natural ones are where the bacteria itself or the virus or that pathogen undergoes what we call mutation. So it changes the structure until it does not respond. Do you remember back then when we were using Oroda, we were using Fancida and Metakelfin in treating malaria? You would hardly find those medications now in the hospitals. It's because the mutation that has gone through, the pathogen has adjusted itself. Now they no longer respond. Now, on the other side of it also, we have the human cost. And that's where I had already gone ahead of myself. Number one is overusing.
Yeah.
When you overuse a drug. Number two is misusing. So the misuse, that means maybe the quantity of dosage inappropriate or a wrong medication or also you could also say the wrong duration of administration of the drug. So the moment you don't follow the prescribed standards for administration of that medication, then obviously it will come out. Another reason also is when you mismanage infections. Because they are supposed to be well managed and controlled. So if at all you mismanage and you have issues to do with maybe reinfections, hygiene and all that, and also those are some of the factors that would really predispose you to antimicrobial resistance.
Yeah. How common are such occurrences globally, and also if we just narrow it down to just Kenya, what's the situation in Kenya right now, you know, based on that?
Yeah, this is one of the is an elephant in the room when we talk about mortality rates. That we are losing about 1 million people globally every year, you know, on the basis of antimicrobial resistance. When it comes to Kenya, it becomes an issue because there are factors that have really, that I'm going to highlight, that have really predisposed the population to such kinds of dynamics. And unfortunately, most people may not be privy to this information. They are not very well aware. If you allow me, I would just delve in straight into that.
Educate us. That's why you're here.
Thank you. So you realize the over-the-counter, there are some medications which are supposed to be administered based on prescription of the doctor. And the doctor, one thing they will mention is the name of the drug. And then another thing is the quantity, that is the dosage. And then the duration, at what time, spaced out. That means if at all you, first of all, because this whole process starts with diagnosis. We are living in a generation where people like Googling their conditions. That's one biggest downfall. And that tells about the African population, not necessarily Kenya. And globally, you would find such kinds of instances. Such a thing predisposes people to wrong quantities, wrong duration and all that. So, and then when it comes to medical practice, especially the training, you go to the finest details of guidance that we receive on how the administration is supposed to be done. Another thing is the commercial aspect of it. So I want to let our viewers know that when it comes to medications, we have different generations. So we have, we call it the lines of the therapeutic lines of administration. So there's the first generation, second generation, third. And the generations are in terms of the weight, the strength of the drug, and then also the mechanism of action. So you'd find that the first line of administration of the first generation is slightly, is small, lesser impact. Then the next one has a stronger and even the mechanism of action is quite a bit advanced. So if you jump to the third generation, then the first generation will be made void. It cannot respond when you do the treatment. So the chances are very high that you have already developed resistance. But now, because someone wants to make more cells, because the higher the third lines of administration, the therapeutic lines would obviously go higher, higher costs. Yeah, for instance, if you talk about amoxil and then talk about amoxiclav, those are different standards. There's another issue. You find the community, especially in Kenya, maybe after Googling, they come to you with a preformed mindset. They say, mi daktari, nataka tu nidunge sindano ndio nisikie vizuri. So you see, like, they think, because they feel they are very, very sick, they think they need that injection. So such kinds of things maybe would predispose them to that. And when there is no proper vigilance, then you realize there would be quite porous aspects. So we need to consider these aspects. So the globe is quite affected. Kenya is also affected, as you can hear some of these things.
Yeah.
Yes.
We look at ways that we can be able to curb that and get to prevent some of these things from happening. But before we get into all of that, maybe what role does hygiene also get to play in this?
Okay. Now, when you talk about microbial infections, we are talking about now you're predisposed based on, you remember the dirt that you find maybe in the open. There are microbes in this air, quite a lot of microbes. So the body has mechanisms of defense called immunities. But then now when it goes overboard, it becomes an infection that would lead to a disease. So when it comes to hygiene, the major factor that comes out is reinfection. You realized during COVID-19, they used to encourage us to wash hands every now and then to break the cycle of reinfection. So if you have, maybe you'd see when, take a very simple example, ukipata homa, when you get flu, realize sometimes they are having one handkerchief, and the same handkerchief they keep returning back to the, you see, to clear the nose. So the same, you are supposed to have quite different, and also, do washing. Such kind of a thing would help break. So the hygiene really matters. Another thing is about coughing and all that, talk about spreading. But then when there is a reinfection, you realize they have already, assuming you're in a room and you have an enemy coming through this door. The last time you went, you met an enemy at the door through this entrance. So you would be very careful next time you say, apana anajua hii mlango. They know this door. So try to use the other door so that you don't counter the enemy. So you see, the more you get predisposed, then you realize the bacteria, maybe when you're using the same drug again and again, then it gains resistance against that. So that's actually one of the major factors when it comes to hygiene and drug resistance. So it's very, very important to observe that. And it cuts across board or all the systems here.
I'm sure the people who are watching us right now who have had someone or themselves are the culprits who I've had more than enough people telling me, amoxil doesn't work for me. This certain thing doesn't work for me. And this is exactly what you're talking about. Now your body has created resistance to this particular medication. Just how dangerous is that? Because we just say it and we say it in passing, that doesn't work for me unless I find something else. Just how dangerous is that?
Now, when you talk about the dangers, the first thing is a prolonged disease. You see, it becomes prolonged. So another thing, the fact that you'll be very sick, and if you would choose to go higher, another thing that comes out is the costs, higher costs, of which you would find many of the people would not afford the second, third, or sometimes some of the people in scenarios.
Yeah.
So that means also failure to meet the standards, then death. That's how dangerous it is. So it would have started with very small discipline issues. Like when the doctor tells you, please take this twice a day, it's based on the calculated hours.
Yeah.
There is what we call the zero order, first order, second order of elimination and all those things. I don't want to go into the depths of it, so to remain at least more elaborate.
Yeah.
It's essentially how the drug operates. There is that bioavailability where the drug is available in the body to provide an optimum activity against the microbe. But then it moves further to now the elimination as well. So you'd find terms like half-life. So how much time will it take for this drug not to be in the body? Now, on that note, you find it starts with a very small indiscipline case of missing, maybe to take the drug at that particular point, and then you end up there, resistant, now you have to take the second generation, third. Wengine wanasema, mimi spendi tu dawa. I don't just like it. But you see the consequences come out of it. Another thing is maybe they feel too sick, so they want to do double. That's really dangerous again.
Yeah.
So when you take it in excessive, then you come and reduce the dose. No, there's actually a pattern that has been prescribed. So it's very dangerous. It can be fatal. And for us to maintain always a healthy community, the microbial infections are inevitable. But once you get it, the first thing you do, go to the doctor, get up, let them check you, and then based on the scenario, they would prescribe. It's always advised. They know very well what they're supposed to do. So when there is no negligence and also ignoring, doing the wrong thing, so they would definitely have to administer the first line, then amoxil would work. Then, for a period of time. There's one thing also that has come out, impatience. People need to be very patient.
Yeah.
Anasema, daktari nilichukua hii dawa jana na bado nasikia naumwa.
You want it to be instant.
You want it to be instant.
Yeah.
So the process, obviously we need to have an improvement, but at least make sure you don't stop. Don't break that dose and move to another medication before you finish the dose. There are dangers that come along. So some of these medications would really render you into such circumstances.
Yeah, I feel like with just everything that you've been explaining, you've gotten to also answer the question on how we can go about to curb this and how to prevent it. Maybe if there's anything you feel you can add on to that, how we can prevent or reduce the microbial resistance.
Very, very well. Prevention of antimicrobial resistance, not microbial resistance, antimicrobial resistance. Prevention of that begins, it has different categories. First of all, there could be compromised from the manufacturing end, making sure, and that takes me to vigilance. So pharmacovigilance is a very important area where they need to make sure that the drugs, obviously, that's what we have had. Of course, we hardly have porous aspects from that area, but of course once in a while. So if you have compromised quality, it would end up affecting. And there, however much you try to prevent from the ground, then as a consumer, then you are limited. So from the production side, the next level is the administration. Now that vigilance also comes. There's what we call the post-marketing surveillance. So when monitoring, let the people be vigilant and report in case they have seen any untoward occurrences. It's very important for the patient and also the doctors and all that, the hospitals across, even the pharmaceutical entities, pharmacies and all that, to be able to report. And then the next level is now the patient themselves, having to follow the instructions as prescribed by the doctors. And then it's important, the policies are already there obviously the regulations by the government and all that, the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, they have already put proper regulation, regulatory measures.
Yeah.
So once we follow them, it will really help. And then coming now to the basics that I had already highlighted, that is quite elaborate. Yeah.
Okay, well noted. Yeah. Are there regions that have successfully managed to reduce the antimicrobial resistance?
Absolutely. We are talking about reduction, talking about the Netherlands, talking about Sweden. Those are some of the models that I've looked at.
Okay.
You realize awareness is very, very important. They have really tried to make sure, obviously that's in Europe, and also you'd find in the West quite a lot, quite a bit. Also in Africa, we are seeing some of the programs on the same being run to create awareness about this antimicrobial resistance. So once people are aware, it takes us to the next level. So you realize another thing also, inculcation of such quite a, emphasis in the curriculum and all that. There's the civic education, then there's also the updating of the healthcare providers, keeping them on toes and actively reviewing. Already those measures have already been put in place, but it's important to know that they exist. So in such places, that has been done. Now, another thing, very, very important, diagnosis. We need diagnostics measures that are quite advanced also. I think they have applied those which are very, very quite advanced, quite effective, the efficacy. So accuracy of diagnosis also would matter, because you would have the empirical diagnosis, talk about the clinical, and then you would also have the diagnosis from the evidence, talk of the machines, the MRIs, the CT scans, and all the radiological approaches. So those are some of the things that have been well fortified in these countries, the diagnosis and then the treatment approaches. So those are some of the things that I believe I've observed that they have really strengthened to cut down on these issues.
All right, and speaking of accuracy in diagnosis, I can see that you've come with some, I don't know if I should call them tools, I don't know if I should call them gadgets. You'll give us the proper word for them, but I've seen you've come with them. And I believe these are some of the improved technological advancements that are happening in the medical field. So if you can just go ahead and talk to us about the gadgets.
It goes. Thank you very much.
They're called gadgets? That's
they are gadgets.
Word? Okay.
So I'm having here this is a pocket endoscope device, which does scanning of the body orifices. So the ears, the nose, and the throat. And so such kind of a device, this one, the technology is quite good. Now you can connect it with the phone using Wi-Fi. So you switch it on, and then automatically, I'm sure it can be captured on the other side. So this one uses an app, for instance, and this you are mostly common. We are exposed to the endoscope systems that are set up in the hospital. But now having such kinds of advancements, it makes things easier. Now I want you to see. So you connect to the Wi-Fi, and then you are able to, it has a Wi-Fi portal. Let me just connect this. So what it does, you are able to do laryngeoscopy with this. That is checking the larynx. Sometimes you'd have cancerous infections and all, whatever the pathogens, you're able to observe how it is. You are also able to scan the ears, the nose, the throat, see if there are polyps, if they are quite infection. The doctors are able to do that. So if you're able to see my screen, to zoom to my...
You can just, that's the camera. They'll zoom in.
Thank you. So you see...
This one, this camera over there.
Thank you very much. So you are able to... So this is now the portable endoscope device, which can, as you can see, it can enter the body orifices. It can enter the ears. It can be used in the reproductive health. Yes. So what we do, we have these probes. So like the long probe, once you attach it, you are able to insert and then check the cervical cancer. Remember that we've had a lot of issues. Right now, the prevalence has really quite gone high. And as you can see already, it's a camera probe. So when I do check my ear, you can see already on the, you can see whatever. Whatever, it's a camera probe. So it's able to capture all. Such kinds of technologies need to be embraced and then also utilized. Many a times people don't use because they don't know. They are not aware that such things are existent. But you see, this would really boost.
And by this, do you mean medical practitioners are not aware?
Sometimes. Obviously, you would realize the kind of technologies that are happening in different countries have not yet been quite exposed to the other countries, especially in Africa, would really need this. There is also one more aspect. You realize there is now a software that is attached to this. So when you scan, it's able to process. You're going to see it here practically. And then does instant pathogen detection. So that is a kind of a biopsy technology. So you are able, such kinds of technologies would really help boost and quicken the process with the accuracy. This is the era of AI, artificial intelligence. So, and it has quite probes. This is for the 45 degrees inclination for the dental use, and also laryngoscopy. You have, this is for the adults, and then you have this for the pediatrics. Such kinds of attachments. So that's how this device works. And then we also have this one. This one is used for particularly wound care, and it would do instant pathogen detection on an open wound. For instance, you scan. So you're able to enter all the patient details. And then, as you can see, these are some of them. And then when you come to analysis, so this is a wound that has been taken, for instance, and then it's able to do the mapping. Such kinds of technologies are here. It does the sizing. It can do the size, measure the size of the wound, and then you see it does processing using fluorescence, and then eventually diagnose. The red is now, this is gram typing. You can see where we have the red color is the gram positive, and then the green color is the gram negative. So this is very, very essential, for instance, in choosing the regimen which you want to apply. You know, you want to choose for the particular patient. So that is what we really need for that particular case. We need to really embrace. Particularly, there are usually regimens that are very good for, they are good for gram-positive infections. When I talk about gram-positive, our viewers, we're talking about bacteria. Bacteria have different classifications. So depending on how their structures are, then you would need particular medications to tackle. So such technologies help you to identify, and the efficacy is quite very high. They're used abroad and here in Asia. So this one particularly uses infrared radiation, which is very minimal. Minimally invasive, so quite very, very efficacious. Such technologies are very, very important to apply in our practice, but also I have to emphasize the clinical diagnosis really has to be fortified, and that really comes in the training. So the vigilance and the kind of quality of training that comes in really is very, very important in so that the clinical diagnosis usually champions these devices. So because before being clinically diagnosed, it's very hard for you to channel a path to know, okay, now at this point, it could be, the possibility is this or the other, so that now you apply the respective, the appropriate tool or maybe device that would analyze.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things.
Interesting. And it's just beautiful how technology, you know, is advancing over the years, and how it's making things even much more easier, even when it comes to the diagnosis of different conditions that one may be having, with such things which are they're very minimally invasive. You know, so it's a good thing to see that this is where we are getting to.
In fact, we are living in the era of artificial intelligence. So it's always good to embrace as we do that, because it helps solving a lot of issues, problems. You realize we are having a lot of amputations when it comes to diabetic wounds.
Yeah.
So, and you would realize such kinds of, the prognosis usually is the major factor, how you take care of the wound. So the wound care is revolutionized already. So when people get to know this, then they find ways to fortify. Diabetic wounds, let me just mention, because we are talking about bacteria here and infections. And I would like to say that it cuts across. Yeah. We have different systems. Microbial infection is not just on the open side, open wounds. Could be in the gastric. You know about the cases of H. pylori, the gastric. Maybe another time we could talk about those things. They're quite prevalent. Yeah. How you handle that. And then also the hypertension and not talking about hypertension, microbial infection in the UTIs, the gastric, and the gut infections, quite a lot. So when it comes to the open wounds, it's very important for the wound care, especially dermatologists, to consider application of such kind of technologies.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Amazing, amazing. We've gotten to learn a lot on this particular session. And now, as we wind up, maybe you can give us your final remarks on this topic. Thank you very much.
So I want to mention something that I may not have really amplified. Looking at the way the dynamics both in both in the healthcare sector and also other sectors. It's a time when the young people really need to rise up, especially now in the healthcare. Their perspectives, for instance, the innovative perspective. You see, this is a hub of innovation. So for instance, so the innovative approaches would be very, very good to be inculcated even as the trainings take place, so that people, especially those under training, can begin looking at the gaps that exist. And then within the gaps, they are able to find entrepreneurial opportunities, obviously, on how to come up with solutions to fill up. Another thing is also to come up with the innovative solutions which are based on the local setups. Looking at the country, you really need to study the demography with its characteristics and the details, so that now you can come up with solutions that are really well aligned with their profile. So such kinds of things need to be inculcated, and I believe already the KMTCs are doing their best, and all the other forums, I mean the different sectors in the healthcare systems, to make sure that these things are get done. Otherwise, back to the patients and our viewers locally, it's very, very important to follow the instructions of your medical practitioner. Please don't go over the counter and say, hey, nipatie tu amoxil, hiyo ndio mzuri, it works for me. Another, nipatie hiyo ceftriaxone, or nini, because you had one time it worked on you very well. So, and also the fact that huyo daktari alinitibu na nikapona. Huyo tu ndio mzuri. They'll stick there. So also considering those dynamics, please, healthcare providers, let's go for let's just follow the right procedure so that we don't go overboard. Thank you very much. One more point, awareness is very, very important. Ignorance can never be pardoned.
Absolutely.
Whatsoever.
Yeah.
So it's important to also just get yourself very well acquainted with these details.
All right. Thank you so very much, Dr. Geoffrey Ngewa. It was a pleasure having you grace our show this morning and just, getting to talk about the antimicrobial resistance. And we've gotten to understand it. I'm sure while we were starting this conversation, there were many people who didn't understand exactly what we were going to look into. But now I bet we have wound up this conversation with them having an idea and having understood exactly what this is all about. And as you said, the awareness is very important, and that is what we were doing today. So thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
All right, this is where we end this particular conversation, but my colleagues